Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For, Take 2. It's now about 10:42, longest restart in the history of computers. And we're going to do it again. Kind of the topics tonight: World Cup. America looks great in their debut against Paraguay. The other games that are going on: Knicks win a world championship for the first time in 53 years. Brendan Sorby has some late breaking news this evening that we're going to talk about. And, then obviously just finish up with kind of some random thoughts and stuff. But Trev is a little bit more into the soccer thing than I am. I did watch that first match with Mexico, and what I really like is the pageantry before the game and kind of the opening ceremonies. Then they did another big thing with when the U.S. played in L.A. And I haven't watched any of the others, but I think they're doing it kind of for every game, kind of, especially for the first game at each stadium, kind of opening ceremony-ish pageantry. But Trev, welcome in, and kind of your thoughts on the first few games here in the World Cup.
Well, round 2 for us here tonight, so hopefully you can hear me okay. And I think we're doing better at this point, so that's a good start.
It does sound better from the start. So,
no, America got a 4-1 win over Paraguay, so that was basically best case scenario for the United States. There was a lot of people that I listened to that thought America could maybe win 1-0 or 2-0 if things went really well. So to win 4-1 was like just almost a best case scenario. Now they did give up a goal. You don't want that. It wasn't a perfect A+ performance, but super, super good start for the United States. As you mentioned, the pageantry for all the games. I know we talked before we got cut off previously. I've been trying to watch the first 5 to 10 minutes of every game if I can. And I try to watch the last 10 minutes of every game if I can. Now, some are on during the day, which is great. But working from home, sometimes I get calls and I can't really watch them all. But it is nice just to tune in for the first 5 to 10 minutes. And if I'm able to tune in for the last 5 to 10 minutes, I should say, 2 for each game. But all the different countries, the anthems, the flags. We'll talk about Freddie and the foreigners making their trips all across America, which has been awesome. That's almost more fun than the games to me, is watching all the foreigners enjoy America, all the different food and the businesses and the shops that they're going to. But it's been a lot of fun, and you kind of got to dive into it. I don't really know much about soccer. I know you don't either. I know a few USA players and a few others. That's about it. But all you got to do is just watch a few ESPN shows or a few of whatever you like to. Maybe get on DraftKings, make some bets like I did, of course. I got no idea what I'm doing. My big horse is Spain. I bet on them, and they had the worst finish of anybody so far with their draw here earlier today. So my horse, as I would call it, is not looking good at the moment. I've got some other teams. Thankfully, you know how I do it. I've got 9 teams in the mix, but you just kind of got to dive in, and you don't really know where to start because we're not big soccer folks, but you learn a little each and every show you watch or listen to, and it's another 5 weeks of this, so you may as well dive into it.
Yeah, one betting style that I heard, Trent Condon in Des Moines, he does a radio show, but he is betting a draw in every match. So obviously you're not going to win all of those, but some of them are like 11-1 odds that it's a draw. And the Spain and then Cape Verde was a huge one. It was like 11-1. And then I looked today that all 4 of them hit today. They were all 4 draws. Now they're all not huge odds like that. And then you're going to, take some losses, but over the last 2 World Cups, you've made money if you've done that. He's like, bet half a unit, whatever your unit is, bet half a unit, draw on every one. And in the last 2 World Cups, it's done. He goes, now this one's a little bit different because there's 48 teams. I think there's 8 more teams or 12 more teams this year than before. So there are some worse teams in the World Cup. Like, I think maybe the last World Cup, the U.S. didn't even qualify for. So that was his one caveat but today was obviously a very good day for him. And then, tomorrow might go 0 for 4. But I think he figured out he's got to hit about 20 to 22 to make money in the first opening rounds.
I kind of like that theory. That's a good one. That's like betting all the unders in March Madness in the opening round or something like that. So no, that's a lot of fun. I mean, the World Cup, it's exciting. I think Arrowhead is hosting Argentina tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So Messi will be playing. That'll be the first game there at Arrowhead, which will be the closest game to you, of course.
Yep.
And that would actually be that'd be a pretty fun one to go to. I know we talked last week, and I think you said tickets were like $220-ish, give or take, for the nosebleeds, of course.
Yeah, that was the one I was looking at. Now, obviously, it didn't work out because actually I'm headed to Omaha tomorrow. For Tyler has baseball Wednesday through at least Saturday, and then maybe into Sunday, depending on the team does. But yes, that was the game, and I was actually looking. There's another game like 2 days later, maybe the next day. That's two lesser, like Argentina's huge. They've won World Cups. Messi's one of the best players in the world. At one time was the best player in the world. He's older now, but yeah, that would be really, really, really fantastic to see Messi for his home country in Arrowhead, obviously the closest to where we live here in Iowa. But it's just not in the cards. Might just have to go see another one or might have to dismiss it this time. If it goes well, which I think it will, as long as North America has the stadiums. I don't understand. They're going all over the U.S., and we're going to talk about the traveling and everything. So, like when this is in Germany, does Germany have that many stadiums to do this in one country, or they got to go to like Germany and France? And I mean, I don't know the answer to that, and you may not either.
That's a good question. I don't know. Good question, though. I don't know where they go because obviously here in America, not only do we have professional sports stadiums or college stadiums, we have high school stadiums that can host some of these events. But yeah, we have plenty of stadiums, but that's a great question. I don't know.
So, I mean, I have no idea. And I know like it was in Brazil not that long ago. And obviously Brazil has all kinds of stadiums too. They have 2 or 3 of the biggest cities in the world. Or, like Sao Paulo, Brazil's like top 5 city in the world that probably has 3 or 4. And I know like England has that too. They have just in London alone have 5 or 6, Premier League teams with all having good enough stadiums, I would expect for a World Cup. And that would probably be more like the UK anyway, where Scotland would have one, Wales would have one, Ireland would have, but I just, Qatar had it or Qatar or whatever, however you say that. They hosted it, but I don't see them having this many stadiums, or maybe they just don't spread it out as much and you got to play more games at each stadium. I don't know.
That definitely could be. And, speaking of Freddie and the Foreigners, as I like to call them, it sounds like a band name, Freddie and the Foreigners or something. It's not just Freddie though, but I bet over this weekend, I probably started following over 40 or 50 different Instagram accounts. And these are all foreigners, and they're having the time of their lives here in America. And one of the things, what you just brought up, is the stadiums. They are really amazed by the stadiums here in America, professionally and collegiately, which all these events are being held at.
Yeah, America, I don't travel abroad very often. I've never been to Europe. But everything you hear about people go to Europe, everything's so small there, and everything here is so big. And just overindulgent, just the food you get. And, I saw one thing like, a group of people were traveling to the South and they stopped at Waffle House, and they get the all-star breakfast or whatever it's called there, and it's 2 eggs, 3 pancakes, a couple pieces of bacon, hash browns. They just don't get that there. It just isn't part of it. We drive everywhere because, the U.S. is as big as Europe. I mean, you go across, when you go from, if you stay in your own country, it's like staying in Iowa. Just like tomorrow I'm going to Omaha. That'd be like going to a different country there. And it's just so different. And then it's not just Europeans, it's South Americans. I was really surprised at how many Paraguay fans there were in the stands Friday night. Obviously, LA's a huge city, second biggest city in the U.S., and I'm sure there's lots of people from Paraguay there, but then also just from around the country and coming up from Paraguay just to cheer them on. And that's what's crazy about this. And we're nuts about going to the Super Bowl and things like that, but the amount of time and money, and you're coming to the U.S. for a month, which I know people have went to Europe for a month. So, I mean, it is the same idea, but they're just using it as their vacation. And like you said, they're traveling around and seeing the sights and sounds and just how different it is in the U.S. The biggest thing in the U.S. compared to Europe is just the size of cars, the size of the roads, the size of the stadiums, everything's spread out because land isn't a problem here in the U.S. and it is an issue in Europe.
Yeah, everything's bigger here in the U.S., just like everything's bigger in Texas type of deal, and they're finding that out too. You mentioned it. Yeah, a lot of the foreigners, they're not just coming here for a week or two. You know, most people that work year-round here in the United States, a week vacation is a pretty big deal. A 2-week vacation is a real, that's a real long vacation. A lot of foreigners, depending where they're from, they can take a month or two to take a vacation or a holiday or whatever they call it from where they're from. And yeah, they're coming to spend 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks here in America, and they're having the times of their lives. And I think it's awesome. I mean, it's just a good reminder to turn the news off.
Yep.
And the news wants to tell you how bad everything is and how terrible the United States is and this and that. And we all know what each side is kind of siding with on certain topics, but the foreigners are having the times of their lives. I mean, and it's a good reminder that we have it pretty good here. We're not perfect. We have some things to improve on, but America's a pretty badass place. And the foreigners are telling us that they are enjoying Buc-ee's and Casey's, Bass Pro Shop, Walmart, Wendy's, McDonald's, all these places. I mean, that's, like I said, when we spoke earlier before we got cut off, and I know I mentioned earlier, but I've been following all sorts of different accounts of foreigners. And each morning I probably spend 30 to 60 minutes just checking up on their updates of where they're at in the United States. And the cool thing about this is they're not just in LA and New York. Right. They're spread out all over the United States. They're staying in small towns, depending on what day it is. They're driving 6, 8, 9 hours like us Midwest folks do, not too far, as we like to say it.
Yep.
People on the East or West Coast call us crazy, but they're realizing how big the United States is. It's a really good reminder that the United States is a pretty good place. Not perfect, but pretty good.
Yeah, there's way worse places to be and way worse things to be dealing with than some of the issues we have. And you hit the nail. We're not perfect. We do things that I don't like, that you don't like, that we don't agree with, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you live, what you do. You can't make everybody happy. And, kind of one of the things we didn't talk about was last night, the UFC thing on the White House lawn. Now, was it cool? Did I watch a little bit? Yeah, I'm not a big UFC guy, so the actual fights don't interest me because I don't know anything about anybody. But the pageantry, the flyover, just seeing all the people there, that's kind of cool. Now, do I really think it should be done there? Maybe not. But is it really the end of the world and people going nuts over that? I don't know. They said Teddy Roosevelt or somebody had boxing on the front lawn of the White House 120 years ago. I don't know. Right, wrong, indifferent. Again, control what you can control. It's no skin off my back. I didn't make the decision to do it. The next president might do something crazy too. It might not be that, but it might be something different that's crazy that I think, I don't know. But it's just people just get bent out of shape over things that really don't matter. I guess that's my big thing. Yeah,
and it goes back to the news. Yeah, I watched it last night, a little bit of the of the pageantry and the flyovers and all that type of stuff. And that stuff, to me, it's cool seeing the jets fly over. I don't know any of the fighters anymore. I got no idea who anybody is. I used to back in the day. I don't now. But yeah, back to the World Cup, I guess, just, there was a lot of people downplaying it, said America wasn't going to do a good job. Well, we're seeing we have some state-of-the-art stadiums across the United States. Foreigners are impressed with it. And we know the people that are going to try to poo-poo this event, and they're going to be depressing about it and all this type of different stuff. But most people, America or foreigners that are visiting, are having a great time with this. And to me, that's the biggest thing. Just dive into it. I didn't know anything about the World Cup really. And I watched some videos on ESPN and Fox and FS1, and I learned what I could. I made some bets. And now, like I said, I'm trying to watch a little bit of a game every day if I can. And it's fun. We got 5 more weeks of it.
Well, and the one thing that I noticed, especially watching that, is with Tyler playing soccer up until this year, I actually know a little bit what they're doing, what they're trying to do anyway. I still don't know why they do that, but I do understand what they're trying to do and some of the strategies and why they do this. So it makes it a little bit more interesting for me because I have watched a little bit of soccer, not high level soccer. He's 13 years old and he was done playing when he was, I guess he played last fall, so he was 13, but we didn't get real high level. And, but at least, knowing the positions and what they're trying to do and, how they always try to get it to the middle and things like that. It's a little bit more interesting to me than it was 4 years ago or 8 years ago or 12 years ago when I had never had anything to do with soccer ever.
Definitely makes it more interesting, especially when you know the rules or what they're trying to do. The one thing I do know is these guys run more than I could. They run more in one game than I could in an entire year right now, in the shape I'm in.
Yeah, they run like 12 miles, right? Some of them. I mean, not all of them, but some of them run like 12 miles in one match, I think.
It's a stupid amount. I could walk that, you have some breaks, but I cannot jog that or run it like they do. It's insane. I mean, and that's another thing too that they're talking about for some of these countries. They're not used to the heat here in America, so that's a little bit of advantage for us. Now, typically the host countries, they get a little bit of a favorable draw, which America did.
Yep.
And then we've got the heat on our side too. So for like England and France, everybody's kind of making the jokes, throughout history and all that type of stuff, and kind of messing with those two, with those two teams there. They're talking about the heat might be a factor. It's a lot of fun actually. I've really gotten into it. I'm glad I did because, a couple days before it started, I was like, I don't know anything about this tournament other than you just need to score more goals than the other team. That's about all I knew, right? And I've kind of dove head first into it, and it's been a lot of fun. And it's my biggest thing is it's just a great representation of America because we've got people from all these different countries and they're exploring America for the next 5 weeks. And as you mentioned, probably the entire summer for some of them.
Yeah. And then the conspiracy about the heat is this though. Here, I heard a good one today. So they're doing mandatory hydration breaks. I think for every game. Doesn't matter if it's really that hot or not. I think they've just decided to do that. And the conspiracy is they don't really care. It's not really that hot. They want an extra commercial break. So that's America taking over the World Cup for you.
Well, that's not conspiracy. That's probably true. And I've also heard too that they're like FIFA has a lot of shady stuff going on in its history too. Which, hey, guess what? Mix in money and shadiness going on. Welcome to the world, right?
Well, and then the other thing that I find this is fascinating to me, and I would be downright upset. Like, obviously it was SoFi Stadium that the U.S. played in, but it's Los Angeles Stadium, and it's not MetLife Stadium. It's New York, New Jersey Stadium because those companies didn't pay for rights for the World Cup. But I'm like, they did pay for rights for the stadium and then pretty much everything that comes to it. And I don't know what Arrowhead is called. Maybe they might be able to call Arrowhead, maybe just not the GEHA or whatever, GEHA Stadium or whatever it's actually called. But I know that they are not calling them, like, I don't know if AT&T is when they play in Dallas or Houston, or it depends on what the sponsor paid. But if I'm SoFi, I'm pissed because I did pay a lot of money to have my naming rights on that stadium. And then for this, one of the biggest things in the world, you don't get it. And MetLife, same thing. Now, maybe they had an opportunity to, buy the rights or pay for the rights for this tournament, and they turned it down, which I see both sides of that. They've already paid enough, but yet this is an extra thing. I don't know, but I do think that's a little bit weird as well, not being able to name the stadiums correctly with the sponsors because they're not sponsors of FIFA or World Cup or however it breaks down.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about that. I listened to some people that went to LA to the game, and apparently FIFA was in charge of a lot of stuff. instead of the normal like game day experience that you would have with a Rams game, call it.
Okay.
And yeah, you have to bid. I could be talking to my what here, but I think you have to bid or pay some money, of course, because that's what you have to do.
Shocker.
Yeah, shocker. So I think some stadiums or some locations turn that down. I mean, really, if you think about it, Chicago, Milwaukee, or Minnesota or Minneapolis, one of those cities should probably be hosting a game.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm guessing, and I don't know this, I didn't look it up. I'm guessing they turned down because you probably had to pay a certain amount of money to get FIFA to come to your city. And I'm guessing they didn't want to dish out the money. So it's a little bit different. Because SoFi Stadium is supposed to be the best stadium in the world.
Oh,
and I've heard from people that the lines were long. Nobody knew what was going on. And it sounds like maybe FIFA was in charge of that. Now, I don't know. That's a whole nother aspect of this whole thing that you and I don't have any clue about. But we're just hearing about it in real time like everybody else is, I guess.
Yeah. It's just the answer to every question is money. And I get it. It's how business is done. And those – I'd have a hard time believing they didn't offer it to those companies for a certain amount of money, and those companies just turned it down. I'd be shocked. But I understand turning it down too. It's like, because here's the thing: those of us right now in America, we call it SoFi already anyway. We just know that's what it's called, and it's MetLife Stadium in New York. It's AT&T Stadium. It's Arrowhead. It's
Mile High, and Mile High is not even standing anymore. It's a different stadium. But
yeah. Is it still called Mile? I mean, they still call it Mile High, don't they?
Everybody does, but it's not technically called that. But that's what everybody calls it, just like Arrowhead. And Arrowhead's still the same. That's not a good example. But yeah, I mean, everybody Heinz Field, they're Pittsburgh, even though it's not called that and it has been for a long time.
Right.
It's just a different aspect of it. But to me, the biggest overall point of the World Cup, though, was America kicked some butt, which was awesome. They needed some momentum. They got it. And then, like I said, Freddie and the Foreigners, as I like to call them, they are having the times of their lives. And it's kind of reminding us Americans that it's not as bad as the news tells us it is. We've got it pretty good. There's some cool stuff about us. I know I text you and Zach and Cody in our group chat. They're freaking out over the Nugget Ice at Sonic. I love that.
Well, ice is a deal. I know, like when you go, I think you have to either order ice or ice really isn't an option in Europe. Kind of like air conditioning. This kind of isn't an option in Europe. And it's, I mean, I didn't look at this. You've been to my new house here. The windows don't even open, like in the living room and stuff. So, I mean, if you don't even have an option to put in an air conditioner, if a window air conditioner, or open the windows to let cool air in. Downstairs here, it's not an option. Now, the bedroom windows open and stuff like that, but here in the living room, nope. So, if you didn't have air conditioning, it'd be rather warm in here.
Yeah, some of these countries that don't have air conditioning, that I'm out. That's they talk about sliced bread being the greatest invention. To me, air conditioning is the greatest invention there is.
Yeah, it's not even like I don't necessarily turn it. I'm one of those that I'm like 68 in the winter and then like 71 or 72 in the summer because I don't need it like super cool. Now, if I had to choose, I would just leave it at like 68 all year. I'd rather spend my money in the summer. You can always put a blanket on in the winter or wear warmer clothes, but I'm just take the humidity out. Especially living in Iowa, it's really humid. Just take the humidity out. It makes you feel better. Then if you get a little warm, go outside for 10 minutes and come back in. It feels really good again.
Well, here's one for you. I had to turn my furnace on this morning.
Oh, boy. How cold was it?
It was 59 degrees in my house.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm proud of you, Trev.
I turned up to 62 just to get the chill out of the air, just to get the chill out. Got the heat on. It only took like 10 minutes, and then it was like up to 63, and I turned it off. And then, of course, the sun came out. Yeah. We've had a little bit of a cold spell, but the World Cup is fun. We got another 5 weeks of it. It's been a blast so far. I don't even know what I'm watching sometimes, but the crowds are electric. It feels like every country, what it feels like to me is every crowd, we've got like 20 or 30 countries that are all Buffalo Bills fans is what it is.
Yes. Yep.
Just wearing different colors, and they're all crazy, and they're all loving America, and they're eating Big Macs, and they're going into Walmart buying clothes. and they're driving across the country. They don't know where they're going. I saw one person I follow, they got a ticket for speeding, and they didn't
That's
know
awesome.
where they were. So
they're going to go home. And they're not going to pay that fine, and they shouldn't. Just go home and not ever worry about it.
No, well, just put a group Venmo out there, and we'll all pay it for them. Is probably what will happen. So it's a blast. Like I said, a couple days before the tournament started, I really didn't know much about it. You just got to kind of dive in head first, and it's overwhelming, but it's a lot of fun though, and it's a great showing for America, in my opinion, is the biggest takeaway.
All right. Yep. No, that should be very, very good, very awesome. Now let's move into the champions, New York Knickerbockers, first time since 1973. Phil Jackson was a member of that team, and Jalen Brunson, one of the best underdog stories in NBA history. Didn't have anybody on the All-Pro team this year, the Knicks, and they won the championship. But what Jalen Brunson does is he just wins. He won in high school. He obviously won 2 times with Villanova, and now he's won with the Knicks. And I saw a stat, or not a stat, this isn't a stat, just a fact that the Dallas Mavericks selected Jalen Brunson and Doncic in the same draft and didn't want either one of them.
Yeah, they're kicking themselves for that one. And I think it's 8 or 9 straight years now with a different champion in the NBA.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
8, I'm pretty sure it's 8 in a row.
Yep, I think you're right on that 8. So the interesting thing, too, is I think the Spurs led for like 72% of the series, and they only won 1 game.
The joke on one of the shows I was listening to today is if the games ended after 12 minutes for the first quarter, maybe even the first 10 minutes, the Spurs are unstoppable, absolutely unstoppable, because they jump out to a double-digit lead in every game. But it's an entire game. I was watching it the other night, and I mean, they were down 12 points in the fourth quarter, and then they lose their mind. I don't know what they do. Fox is bad. They don't get it to Wemby enough, I don't think, and he
needs to be down low more often. He needs to strengthen up and condition up.
Yeah, and he's 20 years old, and he's 7'5", and no one's had that body. So I mean, I get it. He's still learning, and some people were ready to crown them the next 10 championships in a row. Well, they might. They're not going to win that many in a row, but they're going to be involved as long as they have this core and injuries are there. Them and the Thunder aren't going anywhere. Now, are they going to get to the championship every year? No. They're going to get upset, or somebody's going to get hurt, and they're going to be out for a year or two, and then they'll be back. But as long as that core stays together for the next 10 years, they're going to be a problem in the NBA, them and others. Now, the Knicks, who knows? It's been 50 years, and they definitely were you got to win at this time. They don't know. There is what it is. Brunson's having the career year and career few seasons, but you don't know how long that's going to last. I think he's going to turn 30. He's older than you think. He's been in the league for a little bit, but good for the Knicks. Good for the Knicks fans. I mean, they're nuts. They're crazy. I'm not a big New Yorker fan, but it is good to see. Just like the Bills need to win a Super Bowl, the Lions need to win a Super Bowl, the Browns need to win a Super Bowl. The Guardians or the Indians need to win a championship. Things like that. It was good to see when Boston won their baseball and when the Cubs won their, those big long droughts it's always kind of good to check one of those off the list every now and again.
No, it definitely is. And I think it's good that the Knicks won this one, because it does seem like the Spurs are probably going to at least win one with their core, if not more. Now, they have to prove it, of course.
Yep.
I do think also, I think it's good for the Spurs to lose this at such a young age for their main guys, Wemby, Harper, Castle. Because I think if they were all like 28, 29, 30, if they would have lost in this manner, I think it'd break them to have that many leads and to throw it away. But since they're so young, I think they can overcome it.
I agree. And I also think they're not, if they're 28, 29, 30, they're like, well, maybe that was our chance. My career might be coming towards the end and a little bit more me. Hey, I need to go get one more contract, and then maybe it isn't here because they're gonna want to pay me a little less here. Maybe I need to go to. Who cares if I go to Sacramento? They stink, but they're going to pay me the Supermax deal, and I need to do that for my family. And I do understand that. When you have that ability, you've been super close, and maybe you have a championship earlier in your career. Hey, I need to do this for me and my family and my future family. But when you're 20 years old and 21 and 22, you're probably still on your first deal, maybe approaching your second. You can take one more deal that may not be the Supermax, and some of them are going to get that just because they're that good. But yeah, when you get to 28, 29, 30, you start thinking a little bit more about other things than just winning.
Yeah, absolutely. The Knicks are fun. They're an easy root for team, in my opinion, because the Villanova Knicks, they had
there's three of
them. And they're not a bought and paid for team. And really, the last 8 champions, I think, off the top of my head, haven't been. It's been a lot of draft and develop. The NBA has put in these aprons, as they call it. Now, I don't fully understand it, but basically, you can't really put together super teams, or if you do, you're very top heavy.
Yep.
You have no depth. And that kind of goes into the Giannis sweepstakes this offseason. Where's he going to end up? I think the Knicks are the 4th or 5th best odds to win the title next year. And I believe the Spurs are plus 250. Yep. To me, I can't make that bet at plus 250 for one main reason, because Wemby could get hurt.
Well, yeah, and it's one guy, and then you got to think about, and I was one of those same guys on the radio was like, you can't tie up your money for 1 year for only plus 250. It's not even a good bet.
Nope, it's not.
I mean, it's because your money is tied up for an entire year. So you got to get more return on your investment. So you got to go to, 4, 5, 6 deep to get the amount of investment that you need to tie up your money for a year.
Yeah. Now, if they were 5, 6, 7 to 1,
mm-hmm.
I'd probably make that bet. And here's the thing. They're plus 250 now or whatever they are. And let's say Wemby stays relatively healthy throughout the season. If the playoffs start and they're a 60-plus win team, they'll probably be plus 110 or minus 130 to win the championship. Well, I'll wait and just make sure Wemby's healthy and take the lesser odds rather than putting that much money forward with an 84-game schedule to go plus playoffs.
Well, yeah, you tie up 130, but it's only for 2 months. So it's okay. You can tie up your money and it's okay on that. But yeah, to tie up your money for 12 months and only get double money of that, it's just not a financial smart decision. You might as well just burn your money away, because it's just not, unless you just truly have fun money and don't care. But there are some odds and some statistics that it's not smart money.
Yeah, I mean, you're really risking a lot, and big guys get injured. Big thin guys especially get injured.
He's going to get hurt. It's just a matter of when and how bad. I mean, it's just when you play 80 games of basketball, or let's just say he plays 72 games of basketball. He doesn't play every game. When you're built like that, I mean, even every time he just falls, it's different than when you and I fall. He's 2 feet taller than I am, roughly.
He looks like an alien out there.
Yeah. I mean, he's 2 feet taller than I am and weighs, the same amount or less than I do. I mean, because he's tall and skinny, but he's still, just because you're 7'5", you still weigh a lot, just because there's a lot of bone and muscle and tissue. And I'm not a skinny guy, but I'm just not very tall. But yeah, because those 7'3", 300, like Shaq being 320 pounds, well, that's fine. I mean, he was thick. But yeah, I'm assuming Wemby weighs 225, 230, maybe up to 250, just because he's 7'5". I have no idea, but
yeah, all the Shaq and the guys, they were talking like he's got to put on a little bit of weight and muscle.
Yep.
He's got to toughen up,
and he will just with age. There's something to. He is 20 years old. We all remember we were 20, and you could do things that you can't do even 5 years later. And then also, he's gonna spend time trying to gain weight as well. He's always going to be a skinny guy. That's just his build, but he can get stronger and build muscle mass.
The thing I like about him too, though, is he's got a mean streak in him. He's got some cheap shots in him, and I kind of like that. You hear everybody talk about, and the guys were talking about this in another chat that we have. Everybody says that the NBA is not as tough as it used to be. I agree in the regular season, but if you watch those finals, man, there was a lot of pushing and shoving going on. Those finals were physical, in my opinion. I don't know what you thought about it, but that was old school basketball right there. And Wemby's got a mean streak in him, which I think is good. I think that's an attractive quality which people want to see in basketball right now.
Well, he's competitive. I still remember they showed a highlight of, it was like under 19 FIBA World Cup, whatever, and Chet Holmgren won the MVP and the U.S. beat France in the championship game. And you could see he was pissed. And, like you said, it was kind of funny because he had a way different haircut and he looked different. He was, I think he's grown since then, actually. And, but yeah, there was a play last night, I think, where he could have been called for another flagrant. He would have been suspended for game 6 if it went. They didn't call it on him. So he probably got a favorable call, but he undercut. Can't remember who it was now, but they said they could have called that.
Yeah, he could have had at least probably 2 more that could have been called in this series alone. So he's got a mean streak to him. Like I said, I think this loss will be good on the young core because, as we talked about, they were 29 or 30. I think it might break them. Brunson that we spoke about, just a super underrated player. The cool thing about the NBA Finals is next year, who are you going to pick? I mean, most people are going to pick the Spurs. That's probably who I'd pick right now. But who are they going to play?
Yeah,
who are they going to play?
Are going to be there, and they'll be fighting them in the finals probably.
Does Indiana make a comeback? Did the Pistons get over the hump? They're a young team.
Right.
I mean, there's probably going to be a new team out of the East that comes out of it.
Yeah.
The NBA playoffs they're pretty fun. I'll give the NBA playoffs credit. They make up for a lackluster regular season. I'll say that.
And that's what it has to be frustrating to fans / the NBA front office people. Their game is so good. I love college basketball, but when you get down to it, watching NBA basketball, it isn't even close. Those guys are so much better at basketball than college basketball. And it's just horrible to watch on a random January 29th, the Bulls versus the Timberwolves. It is awful, awful. But May 29th, if it was the Bulls and the Pistons in the semifinals of the East, it's pretty because they try. They're not going to, but they need to cut the regular season by 12 games. But the problem is I think probably everybody's okay with that, but then everybody's going to take a pay cut, and no one's willing to do that. The owners aren't going to pay them the same amount for 6 less home games because that's where they make their money.
Yeah, no, you're right. Ideally, for a fan perspective, they would cut the regular season down by 10, 12, 15 games, whatever it would be. That would make the watching experience much more better during the regular season. But no, really good for the New York Knicks. Every game, the final 2 minutes, it was close. And that comeback that they had, and I'll even admit it too, because a lot of people did in that game 4. Game 4 it was.
Yep.
At halftime, I'm like, yeah, the Knicks can come back. I really thought that. Now, I didn't bet it. I wish I would have, of course.
Yeah, I think it was 18-1 at one time.
Yeah, 17-1 or 18-1 is what most people got it at. And I thought about it, but I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't have the guts to do it. But the comeback Knicks as they are, and I think it's really cool. Now, of course, the flip side is literally the flip side is New York is destroying New York.
Yeah.
So you got that going on. You got Japan or whoever cleaning up the stadium and their locker room spotless, and then you've got the New Yorkers out there kind of doing the opposite. Not kind of doing the opposite, completely doing the opposite in the streets. And there's a little bit of the culture mixing of the World Cup and the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and that's And Japan has done, they do that in the World Baseball Classic, and you see that in college football too, like Air Force Academy, and others do it too. I'm not going to say we were perfect, but when I was working for Iowa State as, equipment manager and stuff, we were in charge of cleaning up the locker room and making sure. And, I'm not going to say we vacuumed and stuff. We might, I can't remember if we did or not, but, everything, I'm one of those, nothing has to be like perfect, but just put it back the way it looks. Yes, are they going to go in there and wipe it down and vacuum it before the next team comes in? Yes. But if the chairs were all put in the corner, put the chairs back in the corner. If the chairs were all right in front of the lockers, then leave them right in front of the locker, whatever it might be, but just leave wherever you are like it was when you found it.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's the way it should be. Yeah, you don't have to sit there and scrub and
Right.
disinfect and all that type of stuff, but make a conscious effort to clean up and try to show some respect.
Yep. Yeah, don't just leave it trashed. Pick up the trash, leave it organized. That's all you had to do. It doesn't have to be perfect, but yeah, the fans in Japan and that's just their culture. That's their livelihood. They do it in everything. And never been to Japan. I that's actually a place I'd like to go sometime, and just see this complete different culture and how they interact and do things. But no, great for the Knicks. Great for Knicks fans. I don't really know a lot of Knicks fans that I know of. Most people our age are Bulls fans. One, we're here in the Midwest, and Chicago's not very far. And when you grow up in the 90s like we all did, there was only one team to cheer for.
There was. It was the Bulls. Now, I've got a random – I'm going to throw this at you. You didn't know this was coming.
Okay.
So, speaking of the Bulls and Michael Jordan, everybody's got their opinions who the best player of all time is, in basketball history.
Yep.
MJ, LeBron, Kareem, Kobe.
Yep.
Whoever, all these different players. I've got a different person.
That's the best ever?
The best ever. And I'm going to give you one or two guesses if you want. And it's not the Kobe's or the Shaqs or, like I said, all the other names that I mentioned. This player, in my opinion, is the best basketball player ever, given their physical attributes.
Iverson.
You're getting close, but not quite. I'll give you one more if you got one.
So it's another little point guard.
You're on the right track. Little is key there.
Yeah,
Muggsy Bogues. 5'3".
Well, yeah. So you literally were going little. I was just just shorter.
The guy averaged 7'7" at 5'3". That's the greatest basketball player in history, in my opinion, given his height. Yeah. Let's throw Jordan and LeBron out. 5'3" Muggsy Bogues is the greatest basketball player in history, given his height.
Yeah. No, So who's the worst player in history, given their physical abilities?
Probably Odin or whatever his name was from Ohio State or something.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. It's that type of player. 7-footer, had everything, and just couldn't do it. And for whatever reasons, I think want to and injuries and yeah.
No, I wish Zach or Tassel were on here for Muggsy Bogues because I knew it was true.
Zach's gonna hear about that. He's gonna.
I know
get a text or something, or we're gonna get in that chat that we're in together. We're gonna get something when he hears this because he usually does listen to.
No, I knew Muggsy Bogues was short, but a highlight video of his showed up on my Instagram there, and I'm like,
do you remember the other guy's name that was pretty short? He was taller than Muggsy, but about the same time that was really little. This guy was even in the dunk contest. Remember his name?
Maybe. I don't know. If you say it, I might. I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't.
He played for the Hawks with Dominique Wilkins. You remember?
I don't.
That's another Spud Webb. He was like 5'7", 5'8". Okay. But he could dunk. Like Muggsy Bogues, I don't think could dunk or anything, but Spud Webb was like 5'7", 5'8", and he could dunk it. He was in a dunk contest. And, obviously, he didn't do a lot of fancy dunks. He just dunked it. But, yeah, he was
right.
But I don't care. You're 5'7", 5'8", and you dunk it. That's impressive.
It is. I just want to end the GOAT debate right now Muggsy Bogues, 5'3", averaged 7-7 for 14 years. Greatest basketball player of all time, given his height. That's my argument right now. I'm sticking to it.
All right, so you're gonna have to text Tassel and Zach that, hey, I want to hear arguments to my greatest player debates.
Listen, I don't know a lot about basketball, but that's pretty damn impressive for a 5'3" guy. That's all I know.
Oh, I agree. I 100% agree. Now, Michael would eat his lunch and twice on Sundays, but that's the way it goes.
But Michael was much taller. So what if Muggsy was his height? Now, of course, then he wouldn't have been the shifty guy that he was, of course, at that height. But it's just kind of a fun. I knew Muggsy Bogues. Like, I knew he was a good player, but I didn't realize he played 14 years, and I didn't realize he averaged 7-7.
Yeah, I would not have. I mean, I probably wouldn't have guessed even 7-7, but I definitely would not have said 14 years. That is impressive. I don't care. Great player, horrible player. Just even if you don't even play, just being on an NBA roster for 14 years, you are a stud.
Yeah, and we'll see if this podcast makes it 14 years.
I doubt it. Well, maybe, but I doubt it. Hey, we're at like 6, so I mean we're
getting close to the turn. We're getting close to getting a dog and a 6-pack there.
Yeah. Yep. So let's move on to Brendan Sorby. Let's go back a little bit. There is news tonight. We're going to get to that here in a second, but Texas Tech went all in. Texas Attorney General went all in. They're going to sue the Big 12 if they do anything. The Big 12 this morning, first thing, comes back and says, nope, we're going to sue all the heck out of you guys, and we are taking this all the way. And I think that had to be a directive from the ADs and presidents, chancellors, whatever. Every state does a little bit different. However, their system is ran in their names. But it had to be all 15 guys or girls saying, he's not playing. There's no way he can play, or we're not playing, or they can't. I mean, essentially that had to be the directive. And I agree with that. And I don't know, deep down in their heart, Kirby Hocutt and the president and the coach at Texas Tech, they had to know deep down that this was wrong. Now, the judge and the attorney general in Texas saying that he could play or they couldn't kick him off the team, whatever version you want to think, but they sat in front, like the 4 leaders sat in front of and said, we care about him as a player and a person. And that's true. You can support him. He's got a problem, helping with rehab. These are multi-million, billion-dollar corporations, the teams and the athletic departments and the schools. They have all the resources in the world to help him. And that is great. You should not kick him off the team per se, but he should never have ever, and you should have came and said, he will not play it down for us. He can be a student. He can go to school. He can be a member of our team. He can give all the resources to every student and every student athlete that Texas Tech has and more, because he has a problem and we are here to help him to become better and to get the help he needs. But unfortunately, he cannot play quarterback for us. That needed to be the line from day one this came out. And they did not, and they double and triple and quadruple down on it. And then today it did come out. They mutually parted ways. And Brendan Sorby is going to the supplemental draft this weekend, and he will not be a member of Texas Tech football at all. And my big thing is they were making a big deal on mental health if you kicked him off the football team and stuff. His mental health, if he would have played football for Texas Tech, would have been way worse than if you would have just kicked him off the team, because he never came to Ames. But do you think when he goes to Houston or he goes to Oklahoma State, or I don't even know who, doesn't matter who he goes to, or even his own fans or just walking around town or whatever, he's just going to get ridiculed by everybody. And then this is a little bit petty too. I want to get your thoughts on this, but I was surprised that Texas Tech was willing to burn this place down for this guy. He isn't the best quarterback. He's good, but he isn't the number one pick in the draft. He isn't Arch Manning. He isn't, Carr from Notre Dame, or, he's not leading them to an NCAA championship, or it's not NCAA. He isn't leading them to a national championship. Their goal is to get to the playoff and win a game. But I was just surprised they double, triple, quadruple down on this guy for him. It isn't, he's a good quarterback, but I was just surprised. Your thoughts, Trev?
Yeah, as far as his NFL prospects go, I mean, he's got good size. He's a mover. He can throw and run well. I was actually pretty impressed with him in that game versus Nebraska.
Yeah,
I think the first or second game of the season last season, I should say, where he did throw that pick at the end zone where he didn't need to, a down too early. But it's you just wonder if it got to. I mean, not wonder. It obviously did. It got to a breaking point. And what I wonder though is, did Texas Tech get a hold of him and say, "Hey, this is what it is. We're going to give you X amount of dollars, and just go enter the supplemental draft." I don't know if that happened, obviously, but I mean, let's let bygones be bygones. Here's $1 million instead of $5 million, and just go to the NFL, because this is not going to go away. It's not going to get better. Here's a little bit of compensation, and then you can move on. He was projected as a potential first-round pick next year in the draft, and potentially, if he had a really good year, a top 10 pick, because he's got the size and he's got the movement. But it does feel like the right move. Now, whoever made it, whether it was Sorsby or Texas Tech that decided first it was time to do it, I do think this is the best move for him, Texas Tech, and college football. This feels like the right decision, though, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I would like to know who was the actual grown-up. Was it Sorsby and his people, or was it Texas Tech and their people? One of them stepped up and said, this is what needs to happen. I'd like to think it was Texas Tech, but yet also I'd like to think it was Sorsby and his people. Like, this is not good. Like, and unfortunately, even if he ever does play in the NFL, every snap, he's going to be criticized. Every mistake he has is going to be, well, was that on purpose? Was he gambling on the game? That's the reality of his life forever in football. And it stinks, but that's the reality, and he created for himself. And he didn't help himself, because when he went to Texas Tech, he moved money to friends so they could bet, because he knew it was illegal in Texas, but he knew he still had to gamble. That's the big kicker. Then obviously the number one thing is he bet on Indiana when he was part of Indiana, and bet on the quarterback when he was in the quarterback room. That's the no-no. You just, as soon as you made that bet, whether it was $1 or $1,000 or $500,000 on that one bet, it was game over. But knowing that he transferred money to friends to bet when he was in Texas, knows that he didn't care. He just did it anyway.
Yeah, at the time he didn't care, and it's like some people have said in the media, he didn't murder someone. We know that. He's not a bad guy by any means.
But he made the cardinal sin.
Yeah,
in sports.
Yeah, he did, and there should be some punishment for it and repercussions, and we're starting to see it now. John Middlecoff spoke about this about a week ago. Of course, the guy I like to listen to, the former NFL scout, he said the big winners, again, this is a week ago, he said were NFL scouts, because they don't have to go back and scout him now for the supplemental draft. Well, here we are a week later. Now they do. Now,
yeah, there's several teams.
It's only one player
that are like, Now, what are the odds this Cleveland Browns selecting?
Well, I mean, the Browns are going to be, so the supplemental draft works in tiers.
Yep.
On record. And then Now, as far as I know, I don't know if there's a date set yet because it's so late in the process. But here's how it works: the teams get divided into tiers, and then the teams do a blind bid, call it.
Yeah. So if the Browns want him, they say, we'll take him in the 5th round, correct?
Correct. Now, if the Jets say we'll take him in the 4th, the Jets would win the bid because they select him higher, and they lose that draft pick next year.
Yes.
Here's what's interesting, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I've seen it come up on the internet. The Jets do have 3 first-round picks next year.
Take him in the 1st? Do you have to pay him first-round money?
Don't know. I don't know that. The supplemental draft is really weird. Right. I think the last player or the last headline player that was selected in the supplemental draft was Josh Gordon. It's such a rare thing, and it doesn't happen very often. But, yeah, John Middlecoff was talking. He's like, the NFL scouts, this is supposed to be their time off, and now they got to get back in the office and back in the film room. Now, he said, thankfully, it's only one player and not 700 like they typically do.
Yep.
So they can kind of get through it. But
and some of them had to know this was a high likelihood. Two weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. 1 week ago it got changed, but 2 weeks ago they knew that this was maybe trending in this direction.
Yeah, they definitely knew it, and he also has film out from his limited time in Indiana, and then of course at Cincinnati. So there's film already, but to me, this seems like the correct decision. Whoever made it, like you said, it'd be interesting to find out who came first and said, let's do this. But at the end of the day, this does feel like the correct decision. Let's move on to the supplemental draft. Let's let Texas Tech move on, and let's not have this hanging over our heads in college football in the entire season. It'll still get brought up, of course, but this is a big relief, I think, for the entire sport.
And this shows that, and I think it did come down, the Big 12 stood up and said this isn't happening. I really believe that. So they were an adult in the room and said he's not playing. And then Texas Tech either could have fought it or not. And I think they decided probably not to. Because once you start taking away championship opportunities, like fines aren't going to matter. I mean, money's irrelevant to these guys, but opportunities do matter. Texas Tech, I think even without Sorsby, is one of the favorites to win the league. They want that chance to be in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And once you took that off the table, they're like, all right, uncle, they gave in, they tapped out. And the Big 12, good for the membership, the commissioner, the lawyers, whoever, and I think the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten also came to their defense and said, hey, we'll help you, whatever. Georgia, Nebraska coming out saying we're not playing them. It didn't hurt anything. It wasn't the end all be all. That was just to feel good. That was feel good stuff. They probably didn't really have anything scheduled with them anyway, but I would love to see the minutes of the actual meetings with the ADs and the presidents, and like who said what and who actually finally said they're not doing this. He's not playing, because somebody had to say it. He said, if he plays, we're not, or something to that effect. And probably someone, I would say, I'd love to know what Jamie Pollard said. I don't know if Jamie Pollard would have said that, but Jamie Pollard says enough that he didn't sit back and say nothing. I promise you. One, he's at the end of his career. He's not going to be the AD, and I would be shocked if he's still the AD at Iowa State in 5 years. He's 60-some years old or whatever, and his time's up, and he's been around college sports his entire life, and like, this is the one thing you cannot do. And if we let him play, then there's no point in any of this. Somebody said that, and whoever did, I tip my hat to you. Good job. Somebody stood up and was an adult in the room.
For sure. Somebody had to be the first to say it, and then everybody just kind of piled in because they were just waiting for the one person or one university to say, hey, we're not going to allow this. And it's one of the rare instances where I think we all agree on it.
Yep.
Again, Brendan Sorby is not a bad guy by all accounts. He didn't murder someone or
Nope, that's
nothing like
correct.
that.
That's correct. I mean,
But he has to pay. He does need to pay a price for gambling, and also I guess I didn't realize this too. He was underage, I guess, when he gambled too.
well, and that's the other thing they were talking about is even somehow if he was allowed to play, that if a federal judge wanted to pull him in and arrest him for underage gambling and illegal gambling in Texas, like we said, it's illegal to have proxy bets in Texas to have someone else. And he admitted to it. So, see, and that's some of the problem, like at Iowa State, like Hunter Deckers was underage using false names. He was using his mom's account or made an account under his mom's name. That's some of the issue they had too, is they weren't old enough to bet and they were using not their own account or name because they knew it was wrong. So they were doing some illegal stuff that way as well. So it wasn't, and that's where, and he still could get in trouble for that. So he's not done with this yet. If you get the right federal judge that wants to push this, there's a lot of things that he might have done illegally gambling, even though for the most part, gambling is legal. But in Texas, it's not. And then, like you said, at Indiana, he might not have been at age yet.
This is about as big a story in college football as I can remember. And, you kind of threw it to me as far as the NFL draft goes. I mean, without all this drama or baggage, I think he would probably be a first or second round pick, assuming he had a good season, of course.
Right. Yep.
Now, going into the supplemental draft, I don't know. I mean, is a team gonna risk I don't think a team will risk a first, even though the Jets have 3. I just
fifth rounder probably.
My gut feeling is 4th or 5th.
Okay.
Because we'll see. I mean, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks over the years that have baggage, call it.
Oh yeah.
And for different reasons. They're not all the same, but they typically fall. I mean, Shedeur Sanders, we thought was going to be a first round pick, and he fell to the 5th round. Sorsby, to me, is just as talented, if not more talented, than Shedeur Sanders as far as athleticism and throwing the ball. But this is going to be, do you want to bring this guy in? I mean, this guy, let's just say you spend a 6th round draft pick on him, just for the sake of argument. He's going to be a distraction from day one when he walks into your locker room. And most coaches don't want that.
Oh, and the only one you put up with a little bit of baggage is if he's your starter, and he's not coming in as a starter. It's tough. And, the other thing that you got to be looking at if you were Texas Tech is when the media days come up for the Big 12 here, and it's like a month now, you were going to be the topic. You couldn't bring Sorsby. And if you did bring Sorsby, you were in a no-win situation. Every discussion the entire time, and even in the Big Ten meetings, the ACC meetings, the SEC meetings, every question, every writer was going to ask about that. And, you were in a no-win situation if he was part of it. And that's where I just don't understand Texas Tech's stance on seemingly wanting him to play. But it is what it is. It's over now. Cooler heads prevailed. The right thing was done. For once, we can tip our hat to college athletics for getting something right. Now that somehow the court still messed it up, but in the long run, it worked itself out.
It really did. And yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we knew there was going to be consequences to NIL and transfer portal and all this different stuff. Now, we really didn't talk a lot about gambling. I mean, we talked about gambling, of course, but we really didn't talk about the side effects of it or the consequences, I should say, 2 or 3 years ago. But, here's a perfect example. And this is going to be it's in everybody's faces right now in the media. And guess what's going to happen? There's going to be a player or two down the line that's going to do the same thing, even though they know here's what can happen. There's still going to be a dumb young kid, like we all were, that's going to make a mistake, and they're not going to learn from this example.
Yep, I 100% agree. All right, Trev, we've touched an hour. I didn't think we'd get there tonight, but we did. And we're not going to talk about it, but Caitlin Clark is having a couple back-to-back really good games. Carolina Hurricanes won the NHL Stanley Cup. Zach Johnson wins home tournament in Des Moines at Wakanda. So things are going well for the summer in Iowa and Iowa fans and Iowa athletes. And we'll be back next week. I get to spend it most of this week in beautiful Omaha, Nebraska, watching baseball every day. So I think we're going to touch base with Owen. And then also I talked to Doug DeCock. I think he's going to come out as well. Might touch base with him as well. So a few friends out there in Omaha. It'll be a good time. And hopefully the weather is pretty good. It's supposed to be pretty good. Obviously there's chances of rain when you're there for that long. It's just always chances for some rain, but should be fun. And always watching baseball is always a good time, and try to get to a College World Series game. Don't have tickets or anything yet, but we'll try to get to one.
No, perfect. Yeah, Caitlin Clark and the Fever, they've won 3 in a row. They've got a bunch of games at home, so they need to win. But, yeah, speaking of the College World Series, hope you have a great time seeing Owen, Doug, and whoever else is out there.
Yep.
I know we didn't talk about this before, but I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. next week. So
Okay.
I will be unavailable next week because I'm flying to D.C. on Friday, and I won't be flying back till the following Friday. So
a full week there.
A full week. I'm taking an extra day for a little bit of vacation just to go explore the city. And, I know it's all controversial now because of the president, but I'm going to go sightseeing and do all that type of stuff. So maybe you can get Zach or Doug on or Owen or whoever,
Yep. We'll figure it out. So, all right. Well, have fun, Trev, and we'll talk. Obviously we talk and I'll text and stuff, but we'll talk to you later, Trev.
All right. Have a good one.